Well, as the war in Ukraine continues into its fourth year, nuclear threat looms large as U.S. President Donald Trump faces off with former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev over his August 8th ultimatum. The threat of a nuclear war could soon be a reality if the world's two superpowers, U.S. and Russia, escalate their already tested patience. Trump wants Russia to end the war in Ukraine, calling its military actions disgusting, warning putting of further sanctions if no progress is made by August 8th to de-escalate. His statement did not go down well with Russians, prompting a strong reaction from Medvedev, who was Russia's president from 2008 to 2012. In a post on X, Medvedev warned Trump that every ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war. Playing the nuclear card, he reminded Trump of Russia's nuclear capabilities, including the Dead Hunt system, which was developed during the Cold War. The system ensures that in the event of a catastrophic nuclear attack, Russia can initiate a counterstrike by launching nuclear missiles from underground deep silos, initiating a full-scale nuclear response towards its adversaries in the Western world. Viewing Medvedev's comments as a nuclear threat, Trump issued orders to move 2 nuclear submarines to the appropriate regions near Russia.
Well, you just have to read what he said. He was talking about nuclear. When you talk about nuclear, we have to be prepared, and we're totally prepared.
Taking on Trump, Russian Duma Deputy Chairman Viktor Vodolatsky said there are significantly more Russian nuclear submarines in the oceans than American ones, and the ships that the U.S. President Donald Trump ordered to be redirected to the appropriate regions have long been under control. While Trump and Medvedev traded barbs, Putin signaled no change in Russia's stance on Ukraine, despite Trump's August 8th deadline. Playing down Trump's demands for a ceasefire, he said all disappointments come from excessive expectations.
Of course, the direct Russia-Ukraine talks in Istanbul is a positive point. As for any disappointments on anyone's part, all disappointments come from excessive expectations.
As U.S. readies new sanctions against Trump, White House envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to travel to Russia for talks. With past meetings bearing no credible breakthrough, it remains to be seen if Russia changes its stance. Dr. Sergei Sumleny is a defense expert and director of European Resilience Initiative Center. He is now joining us live from Berlin. Dr. Sumleny, good to see you and thank you very much for making time for us. Welcome to the broadcast. Do you think Trump's decision to reposition the submarines was rushed or was done in a haste? And could that give fodder to the Kremlin and more so to Medvedev?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having invited me today. Always a big pleasure to be your guest. Well, I think Trump's answer, I'm not a big fan of President Trump. I think a lot of his decisions were wrong and caused harm to the world. But this very decision is the only one which one can take to counter Russia's ambitions. And, you know, when you deal with Russia, one must understand that Russia understands any proposal of compromise, of talks, of finding some common ground as a weakness and as a sign that Russia can and should push further. Every time when Russia got hit back, either verbally or with means of warfare, they just pulled back. Just remember how Russian warplanes crossed Turkish airspace while bombing Syria. And the moment when President Erdogan has shot down 2 Russian planes, causing death of 2 Russian pilots, the same very moment was the last day when Russian airplanes have ever crossed Turkish airspace. There was no military retaliation. There was no retaliation at all. Russia has just understood we have reached the limit and we cannot go further. We must pull back. The same is with nuclear threats. Russia used to threat with nuclear strike since years, in all possible situations. Like, don't send tanks to Ukraine, or otherwise we will strike nuclear. Don't impose sanctions, or otherwise we will strike nuclear. Don't impose visa bans. Don't confiscate our property, etc., etc. Russia understands that the nuclear threat is the only which really hits us into our heart, and where we really think, yeah, does it worth it? Is it worth it to escalate against Russia? That's why Russia uses all the time. And then President Trump now saying, okay, we can also play this game, and we can also threaten you with nukes. So what you do now is a very new situation, and I think it's the right way to deal with Russia.
The right way to deal with Russia, but Russia is not giving in, because as it stands, President Putin says that, actually threatens Europe and Ukraine. He says that you bring your submarines, America, bring your submarines, I will deploy the Oreshnik. What's the significance of Putin's statement?
Well, nobody knows if Oreshnik exists. The only launch of a missile which took place last year with blank warheads, we don't even know what it was. Maybe it was like test missile or something. But you know, like Russia's way to act internationally is very different from the Western way, or from the way of democratic countries like India and other countries, Brazil, you name them. Russians want to attack you verbally, and even when they pull back next day, like 2 hours before, they will say, oh, we will never pull back, and then suddenly they pull back. The same as with attacks. They tell, we will never attack you, we love you, we have peace treaty, and next morning your capital city is being bombed. Russia's way of diplomacy is way of lying, much more of any diplomacy. And diplomacy is not always about truth. It's about like how you put the truth into words. But Russia's diplomacy is a mean of warfare. And they know blackmail works against the West. The West has fear about Russian nukes. Let's push nukes threats. We should wait the next days and see how Russia really reacts, how they really do. Russia does nuclear trainings, nuclear drills every 3-4 months. They just suddenly start their communication plans, these doomsday plans, commander centers, evacuation plans for the government, and they suddenly fly to Siberia. How should we understand it? Do they prepare nuclear strike or not? No, they just want to make us afraid, to scare us. That's why they launch the strategic bombers, flying them against the Western countries, like invading our airspace. That's why they prepare launch of ballistic missiles. Like every 3-4 months, Russia makes some preparations, works in Kapustin Yar, testing ground of nuclear weapons, and then we say, oh, will the Oreshnik be launched tonight? Will it be next day? What does it mean? No, they just want to scare us, want to pretend they are a superpower. They are not. They cannot win in Ukraine, they cannot win worldwide. The only thing which we need to demonstrate is strength and readiness to respond.
Dr. Sergei Sumleny, good to see you. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you so much.